Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is for mature audiences and may contain language that'll make you blush, cry, or fire off a strongly worded email to human resources. It's definitely not workplace friendly, unless your job sucks, in which case, crank up the volume and let's make it interesting.
You can stop the search for something intellectual and fulfilling. You've tuned into the diary of a bald man, and there is no going back. Let the moaning, groaning, and bitching begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Diary of a Bald Man. I'm Alan Woffard, the voice that exceeds the average level of military grade tinnitus. So before we get started, I hope you guys are doing great today, or having a good week, or overcoming challenges and different things. So this show is called Why My Wife Hates Me and Other Stories of Love. And as a preamble, my wife doesn't hate me. There's days I probably piss her off, and there's probably days that I add struggle to things she's going through. But as you're listening to this, men and women, ladies, think the same, but think of the reverse of it. Put this onto yourself. When it comes to, is my spouse being a dick or being hateful, or is there something going on that I'm not seeing that I don't understand? So, this goes to both sides of the house, because things happen. I mean, we're in a environment now. And by environment, I mean everything that's around us, it surrounds us. It's kids, it's neighbors, it's work, it's things like that. Sights and sounds, smells. There's all kinds of things that could trigger different emotions and different types of responses. But today we're looking to unpack different emotions and different types of responses. But today we're looking to unpack the mysteries of marriage, decode the eye rolls, the hand gestures, the spitting and hissing, and try to survive the emotional roller coaster of partnership, not only with dignity, but with our manhood, i.e. testicles, mostly intact. This is for everyone. I mean, everyone who's ever felt like they were on the one wrong sentence away from being exiled to the couch or to the craft room with the batteries removed from your remote and game controls. So when we get into this as a point of reference, think about the great movie, The Notebook. Struggles because of differences in, their status and their classes and their backgrounds. So it's little things like that. So again, reference the movie, The Notebook. And for some of you, think about the movie Amor. Amor, you'll have to look it up. But as we get older, we change. So everything is dynamic. Same thing with The Notebook. As I got older, he had to read to his wife because of the dementia or loss of memories. So sit down, shut up, and hold on. Because today we're diving into what makes her tick, her, like a flesh-covered bomb, and how to make sure you're not the reason she wants to level a house with a single puff. So when we're doing this, again, men and women, think about what are the triggers, what sets us off and why we should care. Now, looking at women, I'm thinking about my sisters and my wife. Women overall are very complex individuals with emotional and physical triggers that could turn a peaceful Sunday morning into a full-blown war zone. Now, are they looking for that? Not realistically. They're not wanting to have their day overturned by us having confrontations. But there's a variety of, factors inside that environment, whether it's physical, mental. But with women, yes, men have it too. Women have hormonal fluctuations. They have cycles. They have things that they go through, especially after childbirth. They may have postpartum depression. Their testosterone levels may change. Their estrogen levels may change. And it could be a combination of things. Cortisol, created by stress, lack of sleep, or just the fact that you and I left our underwear next to the hamper instead of in it. There are little things that we don't know what is in the mindset, but like their purses, their heads are loaded with various things. It's loaded with, how are the kids? What do I have to do? Did he remember to pay the house payment? Did he remember to drop this off? We all have things. Like with my wife, she's great. She has a calendar in her head, and she'll say, honey, can you make sure this is paid on this time? It's not that she can't do it. It's just that I have more flexibility with my scheduling. She does like 2 weeks. She can't do it. It's just that I have more flexibility with my scheduling. She does like 2 weeks on nights for 12 hours, 2 weeks on days where she's getting up at 3:30 in the morning, going in and not getting home till close to 7 at night. So all these things add up, And ladies, it's the same thing. Look at your male, especially if they're in construction, transportation, things like that. Now, we're not going to have that hormonal fluctuation. A lot of our stress is going to be traffic, weather, the production requirements for work, or, the distances we have to travel and be away from you. So it's very similar too, because males will lose testosterone and people will say, hey, what's going on with this guy? He's lacking in this. He's not motivated. He's lethargic. But again, we're thinking about our wives, the women, the queens of our castles. But ladies, think about the kings too. So what helps it? So what helps us is not just understanding, the outside influences, but what affects the mood isn't just self-preservation, it's for relationship maintenance. So let's look at these triggers again. The hormones, the ebb and flow of estrogen and progesterone can turn a saint into a fire-breathing dragon bitch. Ladies, for the men, the testosterone levels can make them seem wimpy, can make them seem like they don't care, lethargic, not interested, either sexually or motivated to physically get up and do things. It could be blood sugar levels. It could be dehydration. It could be physical stress. There's so much to it. It's like with me right now, where I have the peripheral arterial disease. Excuse me. We're looking at so many things. PAD can also affect ED, erectile dysfunction. It's little things like that. So, variety of things that's impacting our bodies and our mindset. And so if you have ED, you have low testosterone, that's added space in your brain that's taking up. So I'm forgetting to acknowledge the great things I may be doing it, you may do it, that our spouses or partners may be doing. I want to cover partners because some people aren't married, they're just long-term dating, right? They're speed dating at the speed of dark. So sometimes we forget to simply say, I thank you for doing this. Honey, I appreciate everything you do. Thank you for getting me up. Thank you for reminding me on this. So, the forgetting acknowledgments, the accolades, affirmations. So for both of us, men and women, if they do something, that they do all the time, you don't have to acknowledge or affirm that. But every once in a while say, hey, you know what? I know you're busy. And my wife does it all the time. Honey, I know you're busy, but thank you for reminding me of this. Thank you for setting me up for success. It's incredible. So now that we have a minute idea of what sets her off, and ladies, you may have a small one on what does it for us as well. Let's talk about how we could create an environment where we both feel great and we're not plotting, or she's not plotting, actually. Again, this is supposed to be focused on the female. We have to take this attention off ourselves, males. So let's talk about how we create an environment where she or he, we want to cover all relationships, doesn't feel like plotting your forever retirement and being forced to spend your insurance on boobs and Botox. If you're going to do that shit, do it now while we can enjoy it. So ladies, think about this. When it comes to stuff, a lot of our emotional stuff can be from, being limited on minerals and complex vitamins in our body because our diets are set by our environment, right? If we're in a rush environment, we're rehydrating with caffeine, or we're rehydrating with I don't know, what would ladies drink? I really don't see them drinking Monster, so maybe the Celsius. My wife enjoys the Celsius, right? It's got taurine. It's got the simple vitamins in it that help with that. Because if you're tired, you're lethargic, you're cranky, you're dehydrated, especially, that bitch switch is going to flip easy. So look at magnesium supplements for relaxation. Don't look at magnesium citrate. You're just going to shit yourself. But look at B complex for mood stability, and we're talking like B12, but be careful. Your B12 can get too high if you take too many of these. And omega-3s for brain health, because, certain things get in that blood-brain barrier. And guys, if you're wanting to set up the environment, the home, your man cave, her girl cave, love to use my wicks and sticks, where I'm talking about the burning aromas, the scents. I don't know what the actual term is for most people, but I like it for aromatherapy. But look at lavender for calm. Try and use oils. Citrus gives energy, and vanilla for comfort. Smells matter. Unless you're like my wife, where certain smells will trigger her, and she's like, "Did you just shit yourself?" Because she gets such a complex thing. She could probably sniff a cadaver out of a mud pile. I mean, she has an acute sense of smell. But also look at lighting. You want to get lower wattage, like 40 watt, 60 watt, because bright lights, especially with people that wear glasses, contacts, it can just glare off them and create that glaring, haze where you want to close your eyes and you're not focusing on what you're talking to or looking around. But also look at sounds. Some people like to look at sounds. Some people, like I use a white noise generator when I'm sleeping. But when she comes in, if you have some soft background music or you have the radio station that she enjoys, music helps to calm down. It's just like with the Orthodox religion. If you go in, they're burning incense, and that's what I was looking for when I was talking about aroma. Incense, they have small chimes, small music, cantors, so they're bringing a trilogy of effects, because the more of your senses involved into something, the more it affects you overall. You get that feeling of a presence. You get that feeling of calmness. And other things we can do, guys and ladies, if it's on the flip side, declutter. Nothing pisses off. I shouldn't say pisses off, but it pisses off my wife like clutter, because she can find anything, because she has very specific spots. She has very specific spots for it. My mind, on the other side, you could have a pile of shit on my desk, and I can reach into the middle or reach into the corner because I know where it's at. But with a lot of women, because there's so much chaos, kids, animals, work, people at work, things like that, clutter just creates roadblocks or speed bumps. So if we remove our clutter, put our tools up, get our shoes out of the way, footwear, that's my worst. I'll kick off my steel toes. I pull a Mr. Rogers every time I come home. I sit down, put on my slip-ons, take off my steel toes, things like that. And, for you young couples, I know the biggest thing I've heard, from friends of mine and things I've seen posting is dishes, glasses, paper plates, food wrappers, shit like that. Because these younger generations, and some of the older, I'm not going to pull that shit and say, well, Gen Z, people do what people do. Dishes, wrappers, food wrappers, cigarette wrappers, napkins, paper plates, whatever it is, everything has a place. Once you're finished using that tool or device, talking about dishes, put that shit in the sink, put it in the dishwasher, rinse it, whatever. But put it where it goes and not on your partner or spouse's, table spaces and things like that. It does not take long. It takes less than a second. And if we think about it too, it's going to help us, because now if we go get a snack, we have somewhere to place it while we're sitting there. So let's look outside of our own women and our own partners. Let's look at badass women in history, because when you think of that forever spawn of Satan you're with, I'm sorry, I mean the forever angel. No, I said what I said. So when you think of your forever spawn of Satan and that red bearded dragon that I'm with, let's look at others in history that were badass women. So that way you can put your wife in the proper place in the mindset. Cleopatra ruled Egypt, manipulated Rome, and still had time for passionate love. Look at Joan of Arc. Bad bitch. Went in to destroy shit, and was able to turn war into a profitable business. Eleanor Roosevelt redefined the role of First Lady and shaped the modern world. The shit she did with flying and with working with other people, no other First Lady in history had ever done. She's a badass. And Frida Kahlo turned pain into art, loved fiercely, and lived unapologetically. And that's the way it's supposed to. Our spouses, our partners shouldn't have to apologize, because we get mad at little things we do, right? Does your wife ever yell at you because there's something you consistently do? And you and I consistently do. And you and I, especially me, I'll say, well, at least I'm consistent. Well, if you're consistently doing something that irritates her, you're poking that fucking thorn into the back of that lion. But, we want to look and think, is it really affecting the life or just your emotional moment? Because most times emotions are just a moment in time. It's just a fractional thing. Because something lit your fuse before you brought your ass into this house. You, me, our spouse, our partner, whatever. But that was the last thing that blew onto the fuse, like burning on a coal or burning on a piece of wire or wood, to make that flame move faster. So things happen. But once upon a time, before the fuses got lit, families worked together at home because we were farmers. We were hunters and gatherers and things of that nature. Then came factories, oil and gas industry, long shifts, and suddenly women were left to handle the child rearing, household management, and emotional labor solo. So everybody that was in there, she had to deal with your shit, you getting up, you packing a lunch, maybe having to get up and get you breakfast, make you coffee. So you go to the factory and make 30 cents a day back in the day. That shift still echoes today. And understanding the history helps us to appreciate why the burden often feels uneven. And for you ladies, when that industrial revolution came around, not only that, where the women had to step up and became the mother and the father, that affected the children too, because you were the one they had to go to for a lot of their problems. Because when dad came home, he was fucking tired, and the women were like, don't bother your dad, he's had a long day, so we could have the lights and we could have the food and the snacks and the shit that we've got today. And women were expected to wear and Walmart in fucking, sleepwear with their underbritches hanging out like it's a fucking fashion statement. It's ridiculous. The Industrial Revolution changed the family household. And that's why boys are disrespectful to their mothers in a lot of sense. I'm not saying it's every family, but if you read like Man of War or Warrior or some of these other books, women are saying, why are men like this today? Why do they sit in front of video games? Why do they just want to, kick back and watch TV all day? Because where the mother is the head of the household, because dad's traveling, going to conferences, working construction stuff, he feels that he is now the king of the house because dad said, you're the man of the house. And that put the mindset. Now the mom's working for him. So when you got those lazy son of bitches, tune him up. Let him know he may be the man in the house at this time, but the man of the house at this time, but the man of the house is out there making the money to keep it up, or the woman. Okay, and if you're a single parent, crown them. Crown them. Let them know that they're the man of the house, but that they're going to support the queen like they're supposed to. All right? Quit blaming the baby daddies or baby mamas for everything, because that environment where that kid says, you're here to cater me, you allowed that. And you can't blame the Industrial Revolution. You can't blame Instagram. You can't blame TikTok. The rules of that domain, the rules of that environment are dictated by you. So become the dictator, and remember though, those kids are going to fucking put you in a nursing home one day. So you want to be respectful, but teach them to respect themselves as well, because hopefully one day they will be parents, they will be leaders, they will be, active members of the community. So you want to do things, do it with discipline, with love. Don't do things out of anger. And I have anger issues. I'm a fucking ginger. I'm a redhead. I will snap in a heartbeat, but it's over in a second because, again, mental and emotional things are short term. When we think of stuff, we have to be honest. What created that? Why am I angry? Well, I was angry because I'm hungry. Or I'm angry because of the outside stuff that occurred. And then I came in and this kid just pushed my fuse all the way to the end. So once you recognize why you're angry, what triggered you, you can calm down extremely quick because you identified what it was. They just did not do what I wanted to do. Well, did you ask them? Did you give guidance? Did you provide guidance? Did you provide the opportunity and tools to succeed? And I have to ask myself that too. A lot of times we don't listen to understand because we heard something and now our feelings were hurt or we felt challenged. And you fucking challenge me and I'm going to rear back up. But if you're going to challenge me for my benefit or challenge me to consider what I did, then I listen. Sometimes it takes a minute. So anyways, when we get into this and we think about it, Let's look at the art of listening and how to keep your spouse, ladies, you too, from loathing you. Active listening is not just waiting for your turn to talk. Active listening is to hear exactly what's being said. So try these steps. Stop what you're doing. Quit looking at your phone. Quit looking at the book. Quit looking at the paper. Games, whatever. And make eye contact. Not creepy, but just enough to show engagement. Don't try and stare her down. Open your eyes and take everything in, right? Because the eyes are the window to the soul. Let her know. Set your hands down on your lap, right? Because the eyes are the window to the soul. Let her know. Set your hands down on your lap in an open position. Because, physical gestures, body language, that tells people a lot. So give you an idea. If you're talking to someone and you look down and their foot's pointed at the door or down the hall or in a different direction, that person is not wanting to engage with you. Their foot is poised to take them out of that line of fire that is you and go in that direction. So if you're listening to your spouse or partner, sit there with your hands open, pointing towards them, your feet open, your legs open. Make sure you got underbritches on, ladies. If you're wearing a skirt, you're going to fuck us up when we're trying to maintain that eye contact to be, respectful of you. So then, some people say, well, why do you do that? And it's to show you're engaged. It's to show you're open. Don't point your feet at doors or hallways or anything like that that you're talking to. Be respectful because you will pick that up. Next time you're at work, try it. Stop and talk to somebody. Watch the feet. Watch the hands. If the hands keep crossing their body, they're trying to turn their torso and get that forward momentum to get the fuck away from you. It's not because, you may have bad breath. I don't know. But it's because in their mind, you've hit their brakes and now they had to go. So if you stop and you look directly at them, you have your hands out to your side, your feet pointing, you will see that they will mirror, and that's what it's called. They're mirroring what you're doing, and it'll help them relax. Unless they're really in a hurry and they say, I see you need to go, let me let you go. So, okay, we did the eye contact, our body positioning's good, we're not pointed at the bathroom. They start to speak. So when they're done, repeat back what they said. The last thing, so what you're saying, is that you're mad at me because I didn't get this report done. Is that correct? I want to make sure, or honey, are you mad at me because I left the clothes on the floor? Is that what you're saying? Yes. Okay, well, I did take them off. Then I got distracted when, and explain, but make sure before you respond. I'm bad at doing this. I'm bad to just jump in because my mind is always thinking, 3 steps ahead, things like that. But repeat back what you say. Clarify. Verify. Don't offer solutions unless asked. If she says, well, I've had a bad day and do this, don't try and solve her fucking problems. She could do it and she may have just wanted to vent. So, she says, well, Corey came up and kept grabbing my ass. And then you could repeat back and say, so Corey came up and kept grabbing your ass. Yes. Was his hands cold? Were they warm? Are you listening to me? He grabbed my ass. It's like, well, I didn't want to offer a solution. I just wanted to understand, did he grab it intentionally? Did he butt into it? So I understand you're saying he grabbed your ass. Well, I'll apologize. Did he grab it intentionally? Did he butt into it? So I understand you're saying he grabbed your ass. Well, I apologize. So what did you do? Ask her, what was it you came around? Because it happened to my wife one time. Somebody smacked her ass. She tuned that motherfucker up. But then she got hit for not getting into some, HR stuff and taking care of it in a different manner. Or for being dressed inappropriately, is what they said, because she had on jeans. Bullshit. Now, my wife does have a great ass. I like to grab it all the time. Do not grab my wife's ass. If she does not give you permission or doesn't say grab here, leave that shit alone. Grab your own wife's ass or partner's ass. So, when we're talking about the family dynamics, right, and communicating effectively by listening effectively, let's look at the environment again. Let's step back. We've got the environment, we've got lighting that's conducive to reducing a mood, especially after work, right? During the wintertime, it would be dark. So she would want light to wake her back up, right? That's why people in the wintertime get depressed and suicide rates and stuff like that goes up because of vitamin D. So the stimulation of the sunlight, the stimulation of light helps us to wake up, right? So you want to get that atmosphere now where she's coming out of a hectic environment and make it calming. And that's why I like rheostat lights, because you can dim them down where it's safe enough where she's not tripping over air, or you're not tripping over air, not stepping on shit, because you've already decluttered, remember? You cleared that path where she could get from the doorway to the bathroom to the bedroom to the booze. Keep that shit open, right? Just like a fire exit. Don't block that shit. Let that path be direct, because if we hit an obstacle or a roadblock, we get pissed off, and now we're fucking throwing hands. And then the dog gets upset, starts pissing on everything. Things like that just go crazy. Environmental. There are so many different things, because until we communicate, we don't know what outside the house influenced these decisions, these actions, this, feeling of hate or just absolute rage. So let's be open. Let's absorb some of that. Be a shock absorber. Be ready to take it, but be ready to push that weight back off you too. Remember, a shock absorbs and then displaces. It moves. It just takes it for a short period of time. You're not a load-bearing spring. Don't sit there and keep that shit in. So let's look at some of the signs that, people laugh at, but astrology to be believed, these are the best ones for domestic life. Cancer women. My wife's a Cancer. They're the ultimate homebody. They're introverted, and they will scrap and destroy you if you fuck with the family. If you look up the most dangerous signs, Cancer will fucking kill you. The FBI had the most dangerous signs. Cancer will fucking kill you. The FBI had an outside group look at it, and I can't remember the name of it. I'll look it up and I'll post it in the show notes. A fucking Cancer will kill you because you destroyed something in their house, their family, or something like this. It's not because they're volatile. It's they're very protective. People look at Tauruses and say, oh, stability, comfort, fridge stocked with snacks. And Virgos are meticulous about details and keeping things running smoothly. Well, that's just a zodiac sign. It doesn't mean that person is like that. Now, I can say undeniably, my wife is a Cancer, ultimate homebody. Ultimate family person. She will make a nest that will just fucking satisfy anybody who walks in. They come in, they see the grays, the way she decorates and things, and you feel comfortable. And if you mess with the family, you will feel the rage just as much as you feel. So, when people laugh about, well, these signs don't get together and don't do well together, there's some you won't. There are some women that will specifically ask you, what day are you born? Things like that. To make sure, because in the mindset, hey, Capricorn and Gemini don't get along, Gemini and Cancer don't get along, it's little things like that. So don't just be looking up when you say, hey, let me check my horoscope for today and let me see if I'm compatible with this person, because sometimes the exact opposites attract, and fucking it'll hit you like a magnet. It'll be stuck to you. You can't get that shit off. Now you got that weight and you're dragging it around. So, let's look at just the person we're with. Let's listen to the person we're with, right? You date them for a while, you understand, okay, I don't put my toothbrush next to hers. I put the seat back up because she wants little things like that. But what are some other steps we could take to bring bliss into the home? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, you didn't. I'm just fucking emerging myself because, this is my podcast. I figured you're asking me. But small daily gestures. Like me, I like coffee in the morning, and some women, like it. So if she's a coffee person, my wife likes water in the morning. I bring her a bottle of water and a goodies, things that help get her started in the day. So if it's coffee, bring them coffee. Put a note on the fridge. I'll occasionally spontaneously put notes in my wife's lunch bag. Hugs, just random hugs, or grab her titties. If she has the ones that she allows you to grab them, not when she first gets out of the shower because your hands are probably fucking cold. Replace the batteries in her vibrator, or just charge it up when it's not in use. Little things like that, just small daily gestures. Divide and conquer. So remember, that environment, you live there too. Act like it. You live there too. Act like it. If your kids made a mess, you're not going to get them to pick it up. Them little fuckers are just going to go somewhere else and draw on another wall. So they're half you, unless you're like a stepdad. And there's a lot of step parents that do more than actual parents. But act like it. Divide the house up. I'll take this quadrant. Honey, you do that. Fire for effect. Rounds out. We're done. Date nights. So date nights, the wife and I try and work them in. But no sitting each to each other on the couch doesn't count. You know, if it's a date night, I'm going to make her something that she likes that we saw on TikTok. And that's something I love is we're trying all these new recipes. You know, we may play a game. We may watch a movie. And the idea and the concept we had this winter was she bought us a small projector for use out in the garage. But we'd get out there and she'd be tired from work, or we got drunk and we just enjoyed sitting each other, get in the hot tub. I'd try and squeeze something and she'd smack me, even though, you know, it was playful. But, you know, things like that. Encourage one another's interests. Even if that means pretending to care about houseplants or crafting or embroidery, you know, say, honey, I got this. You go sit over there. You knit the fuck out of that. We'll put it on Marketplace. I like your houseplant. Is that CBD or is that the other smokable stuff? But encourage it, you know, because getting outside of our work things and getting into hobbies and things like that, it gives us not only a mental but an emotional break. And it lets our creative sides grow. You know, laughter too. Laughter is a huge thing because if you can't laugh at life or she can't laugh at you, you're fucked. You know, my wife will find some great things on TikTok like relationships and couples and skits, you know, like the Blonded Brewer on Instagram. Some of the other ones too, where they're pranking each other and setting each other for failure. Do that. Fill these balloons up with shit. Liquids. I don't think it's paint. I think it's like milk. Maybe KY jelly. I don't know because some of it's very viscous. And they're throwing it at it. You're fucking destroying your house. And if you fuck with her hair or his hair, guys, that's a good reason to go bald. Shit don't get in your hair. Just letting you know. And chicks dig bald heads. Unless you're a dick, because then she's going to think you look like a bigger dick. I don't know. But, you know, laugh. Look at Ian Bagg. Funny motherfucker. You know, and when he goes out, he's always asking questions about relationships. Hey, how long you been dating? You know, that time before you knew each other, and then you knew each other. How long you been together? Oh, wow. You've been putting up with his ass that long? You should get an award. You know, things like that. He's great. He is a great comedian for that. And just watch something you guys enjoy. But remember, to do this, you need a good and calm environment. You know, so if you're going to watch Ian Bagg or you're going to watch a movie, adjust the light, introduce calming scents, you know, because like I said, with the Orthodox, you want to feel that presence. You know what's calming for some people, as odd as it sounds? Popcorn. The smell of popcorn, air popper, bag pop, whatever, because that sets a mindset of, oh my God, movie or things like that. Other triggers could be just soup. You know, some people have that where they like the smell of cooking vegetables for some reason. So know your partner, know what they like, and know it gives them a little bit of calmness. You know, and we already talked about, you know, breaking up the house and taking on responsibilities and things like that. So the distribution of household chores fosters teamwork and respect for one another. And every Sunday, my wife and I do that. So we'll break down the house. I am not as good at detailed stuff, so I will dust and do the floors, make the bed. She hits the bathrooms, and I mean make the bed. She hits the bathrooms, and I mean you could do surgery after she's fucking cleaned the kitchen, the bathroom. You could go lick the toilet. Don't suggest doing that unless you just threw up, and you know how dogs lick it? Yeah, seriously. When she's done, it is clean. But you want to share responsibilities. It's not just household. You know, my wife, she can cook. She's a great cook. But she just doesn't really like getting in the kitchen and doing stuff like that. Now, she'll clean it. She does not mind doing that a bit. But I like cooking. So I'll take over that. And then she'll give me new recipes, new ideas, and say, hey, spice this up or pick this down, things like that. You know, one of the biggest things, too, you know, and she gives, when I do these things, she gives gratitude. She's like, oh, honey, this was so good. But do that. You know, recognize your partner and say, hey, thank you for this. Thank you for being the highlight of my day. Don't be an ass kisser. Rub my foot. I know you were just pushing it off your feet, but you still rubbed it. Thank you for that. Or thank you for lifting my balls when I fell on the floor and kept them from hitting on the counter. I really appreciate that. You know, it's just that little gratitude. Thank you for feeding the dogs. I was so tired. My back is sore and I just didn't want to bend over and get that because of the reaching, the leaning. You know, be grateful for what you have. There's not much in life that you can't say, hey, thank you for opening the door. Thank you for reminding me. That's my biggest thing. is being reminded on stuff. And my wife's like, honey, did you do this? Oh, thank you for reminding me. Designate quality time so that you can explore and you can relax and you can do the date. Actually set that on a calendar and look and think about these things. So that's a lot to take in on this. Just remember this. Love is a continuum in the Notebook or the movie Amor. Some days are harder than others. And then one day it ends. Make the most of your relationship and your life with your wife and your spouse. Put in what little bit of work. Some days you're going to have to put in a lot of work. A lot of it is being attentive. A lot of it is being, focused on what is in front of you. That spouse, she's in pain. She's doing this. Okay, let me do this to reduce it. Get a heating pad. Rub her with back balms. Show with kindness. Show with love. And maybe, just maybe, motherfucker, learn how to fold a basket of clothes properly. You may just turn that into my wife is trying to kill me into my wife just hugged me topless again today. What the fuck? Guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for being involved. If you like the show, please rate, give comments, give statements, tell other people, get them involved, share the show. Thank you for helping make this podcast. And, thank you for helping make this podcast and the new one, Growing Old at the Speed of Dark, the success that it is. With this, it is my diary. It is things I try and share. Maybe you have a diary that you could share with us one day. I don't know. But remember, love yourself. Love the person who's giving their time, giving you themselves. Be respectful of that. Take care of them. Thank you for listening. I love you. Now get the fuck out of here and enjoy the rest of your day. But don't forget to rate, review, and send us some love. Thank you for listening.
Alan Woffard has produced this podcast for entertainment purposes. Neither this nor any other podcast he produced constitute legal, medical, marital, sexual, or professional advice. The opinions and views presented by Alan are his own and do not reflect the views or opinions of employers, clients, family, Facebook groupies, promotional sponsors, or baby Jesus. Any health information shared or mentioned as an alternative does not create any patient-physician relationship between the audience and the presenters. No person listening to any podcast from this rocket surgeon should act or refrain from acting based on the content of a podcast without first seeking appropriate professional advice and or counseling, nor shall the information be used to substitute for professional advice and counseling. As stated earlier, this show is for entertainment purposes, not how to lead or change your life. Do what is best for you or what your spouse approves of. Alan Woffard and all guests of the show expressly disclaim all liability relating to any actions taken or not taken based on any and all contents of this site.